Here we have the Shankly universal spring compressor. It's a little kit. It's pretty nice. This is what you get. These will clamp onto the springs, and it has an arm here that you attach this to attach the other compressor so that you can have some stability. Alright, so here we have the shock ready. We have our compressors ready. I've gone down a bit here. And you move these by, you move the bottom jaws by twisting it down this shaft here. And the top one is moved by this thread as well. So let's install them. You notice these have a locking bottom jaw to keep it from slipping off. That's pretty important. It reduces the chance the spring is just going to flip out of the compressor. They recommend not using a power tool. I probably would use a power tool, but because I'm doing this on camera, I figure I'd better show best practices. It should be loose enough now to tackle the cap up here. We'll take it slow, be safe about it, and see what we can do. Don't have to worry too much about these giving way, but what you don't want to do, that's loose, I don't like that. What you don't want to do is bang this around, so be careful with it when you're doing this. Well, we're going to apply some blast to it, try to get loosened up. So, the nut on the rod of the piston isn't going to come off easily. If you just put an impact wrench on it, it'll spin both the nut and the rod, and you won't be able to get it off. Normally what you would want to do is have an offset crescent wrench like this. An offset crescent wrench does this, and then right here it bends and comes down here. But finding one in the 21mm is virtually impossible. Then you might try something called a pass-through. This is an example of a pass-through wrench. But a pass-through wrench would allow you to reach down, get over the nut, and then be able to turn this 10mm rod. But again, finding a 21mm pass-through is not too easy. So, I'll show you what we're going to do. So what worked is taking a pair of vice grips, gripping the piston, or gripping the shaft, and then gently torque wrenching the top off. And here we see it's coming apart. Now here we have the spring off of the shock, and we'll just release the tension on this now. Coming out here, that means this this bolt has gone into this shaft and is coming out the other side. That should never happen. So that was definitely a mistake on my part. Too many coils at one time. All right, so it's okay. Nothing catastrophic happens, but don't overextend your spring compressor. Here we're going to compare the stock front spring with the H&R front spring. Now, the lowering won't be as drastic as it appears here. They're made out of different metals, so they compress at different rates. But this is what they look like, and now we're going to install this. I'm installing new strut mounts, but you're probably not going to need to do that. Just make sure that this, which is a spring insulator, is in good shape, and that this, which is the top of the shock, is in good shape as well. This is the new bit, the Monroe. This is my new spring insulator. I don't need this. I'm just putting it on for good measure. You just pull it through the holes here. Taking your H&R spring, we're going to go ahead and compress it just a bit. It doesn't require as much compression as the stock spring does. It's a shorter spring, but you still need to compress it a little bit so that you get this hat on. Make sure the bottom is seated in the insulator. We'll take our new piece right here. Let me see here. This part is up top, and this part is facing the spring. So we'll snap these together like this. And you see they have a bearing inside, a bunch of bearings inside to facilitate smoothness. And then you'll just slip it down over this hat here, just settle it down and push it on, and it'll snap in. So now there's your completed setup. And we'll take it and just make sure it sits down on top of that shaft correctly. We'll vice grip the piston here so I can keep it from turning. There you have a side-by-side comparison of the H&R shock and the stock shock. And this is what the H&R rear looks like next to the stock rear. All right, it's time to get the rear spring in. This portion is the top, this is the bottom. Let's get to work. Now, there's a little cap right here that this spring bottom is going to sit on, and then up there is the other part that the top of the spring will sit on, right here. Remember, when you're finished with one side of this, don't bolt this sway bar back up yet. Wait until you've got both of your rear springs in to bolt this sway bar back up. If you bolt up one side and you still have to put a spring in the other side, you won't be able to flex this arm down, which you're going to need to do in order to get the spring to fall in right. So let's get this spring in. Now that you've got the spring in, we're going to use a jack and push this arm up, because we're going to use that to help compress the spring and get the arm back onto the knuckle. You may have to play with this jack a little bit in order to get the bolt to go all the way through, because one side of this arm, while it may match the hole in the knuckle, the other side of the arm may be up too high or too low. So you just have to fiddle around with it until you get it right. Now that you have the bolt in right, get either your adjustable crescent wrench, which is what I'll be using here, or a 24mm box end, and hold it tight and use the impact gun to drive that bad boy home. I'll go ahead and let the arm down. and get these sway bars inserted on both sides. You will use this crescent wrench and grab the back end here with that to secure it, otherwise the bolt will just rotate. We'll get it pushed all the way through. We'll get our nut put on, and now with your crescent wrench, grabbing this bolt head that's back here behind the knuckles appendage, just go ahead and get your 15 millimeter socket, get her tightened up. And there you go. This sway bar link is attached. Now all you've got to do is do the other side after you've inserted your spring, of course, and you're done with the back end. Now we come to the front end. The front end is a lot more difficult than the back, but that said, it's still not really that difficult. We're just going to get this installed in there. And to start out with, you're going to have to reattach the top cap back up inside the engine bay. Let's get that going. On top of the cap, there's a little arrow, and I always have it point that way, turning. So let me find that arrow. There we go. Let's make sure that arrow points towards the engine. And this would probably be easier with two people. In my case, I just do it myself. But you just have to get these bolts lined up with these 4 holes. Once you got that first bolt on, you can kind of relax now. Otherwise, you've got to lift it with one hand and line it up. Get these bad boys on. And you're going to use a 15 millimeter socket to tighten them up. Now, moving back down. Now that we've got the top of the shock attached, we can go ahead and get this bad boy reassembled. Now, you're not going to be able to really knock these around very easily. So what you're actually going to do is slap that 24 millimeter socket on the end of them and just pull them through. Oh, whoa, I should get a nut. And just pull them through. There we go. Firmly attached to the shock. We'll attach this sway bar link, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. If you just try to put the nut on here, it will just turn. So we've got a trick for that. Here's your nut. Maybe this is your 21, but we're actually not going to use a 21 for this. We're going to use a crescent wrench to hold the actual nut, or a 21-inch. We're going to use this drill, and we're just going to pull the bolt through here. I prefer to use this drill. Impact wrench probably will do better. I guess I'm just scared of breaking something. But there we go. That's a 10 millimeter, and we're assembled. That's all the assembly she needs. Let's get our wires hooked back up here. Now we're just gonna put rims on and put her on the ground. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man, that's nice. keep in mind, they're going to settle over the next few days. So they're actually going to sit just ever so slightly lower. But boy, that's murderous. Now, I'm not going to lie, I kind of clickbaited the thumbnail on the first video, which you can find there, which you can find here. But it tucks pretty dang nice. Heck yeah, let's get it out. I love the way it sits. Wheel gap virtually eliminated. I'll see you next time in the garage.